Today's video is all about gaming and blockchain. So if you are building a game or considering going into game development, this one is for you. We're going to cover some tips, the types of games we are looking at in 2025, and meet two incredible founders who are launching games this year. And we'll put some gameplay footage right there. We're also going to meet Gabe from Cartridge, who will walk us through some available infrastructure to integrate blockchain and games. So stick around. We have a great show for you. Let's get started. So we are joined by Gabe from Cartridge here. And hello, Gabe. How are you?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So my first question for you is, what is Cartridge? What is Dojo? And if you can introduce yourself also a little bit, and what are Provable games?
Absolutely. So I'm Gabe. Thanks for having me. I'm the COO of Cartridge Gaming Company. Cartridge leads the development of the Dojo engine for building provable games, and we also build other infrastructure and tooling for building and deploying provable games. And so I'll go a little bit into really kind of what we mean when we talk about provable games. And I think the best way to do that is to give a little bit of kind of an overview of the history here. When you think about the way that traditional game studios build games, you might use one of the popular engines to build the front end, like Unity or Unreal, as well as the kind of logic that informs how gameplay unfolds, combat, player interactions, and things like that. But generally, they'll use either Amazon, Google, or Microsoft to store the state of the game world. And that's everything from the players and their identity to their characters in the game world, their guild, their relationship with other players, the amount of gold they have in their inventory, and all these types of things. And this is a really good system for building like high performant games with high throughput and these types of things. But it also comes with these negatives. We've seen a lot of this highlighted by the Stop Killing Games movement over the last year. Fast forward to 2021, 2022. We saw the introduction of these NFT games, which conceptually was this really interesting idea that said, how can we use these decentralized systems to improve upon these game worlds, give players more ownership over their interactions and things of this nature? But fundamentally, the kind of NFT, what we now refer to as Web 2.5 movement, took this kind of traditional architecture that still uses, an Amazon or a Google Microsoft server. It took this kind of thin economic layer and it decentralized that. And so you kind of got this like bit of a Frankenstein of these both worlds that really just introduced this hyper speculation around economy and assets, but it still had a centralized game server that could be turned off. And so you really kind of saw this ride the kind of like NFT boom and bust. And so provable games, which you might also have, here referred to as Web3 games, really takes that kind of back end, the state of the game world, and it swaps it out for a decentralized network or a blockchain. And so this necessitates all of the game logic being on chain as well. And so, the development that we've seen over the last couple of years of some of these, Ethereum L2 rollups like Starknet for scaling the performance of these blockchains, as well as the introduction of Dojo, has really enabled this to be possible. So provable games are fully on chain. The logic is on chain. The state of the game world is fully persistent. And the beautiful thing about that is that there's no server to unplug. These game worlds can live forever. So that's kind of a high overview of what we do.
That's really awesome. And thank you for giving that context. I want to ask you why you believe game developers which will leverage blockchain and the provable infrastructure will win long term. I personally believe that it might be hard to see it right now, but because of infrastructure that is built by teams like Cartridge, it will actually be easier and better to deploy games on chain. People will be able to iterate on their games much faster because it's a much more robust and battle-tested persistency layer. But I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you believe that games on blockchain will win long term?
Sure. There's been a lot of great conversations about this over the last couple of years, and I think there's a lot of great kind of avenues to explore in answering this question. I think first and foremost, I definitely agree with you. I think, with Dojo, we've been hosting these quarterly game jams that are just 72 hours over a weekend, and we've been seeing people build these games quite quickly. So the iteration loop is becoming tighter and tighter. But I think The first place that I'll start, because I'll give a couple answers here, kind of goes back to this whole notion of a game being unkillable. I think that, if you examine the Stop Killing Games movement, the solutions that they'll often propose is at the end of the official studio support for a game server, the community should be able to kind of take over and spin up their own game servers. But the problem is that you lose the state of the game world. So you can imagine like the characters, the guilds, all the social relationships, all the time that you spent building up your characters is lost when the state is transitioned to community-owned servers. With a provable game that's fully decentralized, there's no kind of loss of game state at any point. So the first thing is that the games are unkillable by virtue of being provable. The second thing that I'll talk about, which is kind of an extrapolation of that, is we're seeing more and more in the games industry focus on user-generated content. So you can think of popular UGC games like Roblox and Minecraft, etc. Oftentimes, there's a lot of risk associated with really building businesses that are building mods on top of these ecosystems. If, the game is ultimately shut down, if the official studio decides that they want to kind of revoke your license for building a mod, they kind of have ultimate control over these game worlds. But because provable games are fully decentralized, it removes the platform risk, which really enables people to build sustainable businesses, building mods on top of existing provable games. That I think is tremendously exciting when you're really looking at the growing model of UGC games. And then the third thing that I'll throw out, which I think is a little bit more nebulous but really interesting, is the opportunity to kind of explore with new interesting economic models for these games. So in the traditional game world, something that's quite challenging is building games that have monetary rewards. If you think about like a simple arcade game example where the player puts in a token, they play some arcade game, and then they receive some reward that has value on a market, you're quickly kind of tripping over the line where the game studio either could be considered hosting a gambling application, or even if it is skill-based, they might still be considered a money transmitter. And so that kind of economic system for a game introduces all this regulatory overhead. But because provable games are essentially just decentralized protocols, there's an opportunity to experiment with interesting new models where the player can come in, they can buy some NFT, which serves as a dungeon ticket, they can play through some combat, and depending upon their performance, they might receive some reward in the form of a collectible or even a token that they can sell on a marketplace. And we're seeing this with a lot of the games that are building on Dojo, like Loot Survivor, like Jokers of Neon and Evolute as well. I think that this is a really interesting design space. Of course, like we recommend for any of the studios experimenting with this stuff to work with legal counsel in your regulatory area. But I think this is also something that's going to be quite fruitful for the gaming industry as well.
Awesome. And can you elaborate a little bit more about Dojo, what it is, and how it makes the life of developers easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cartridge leads the development of Dojo, but Dojo is an open source engine for building, provable games in this way. And it's an entire tool chain for building these games. So it has Katana, which is a sequencer, the Tori indexer. It has Saya, which is a settlement orchestrator. There's a whole suite of tools that make it really easy for you to build these provable games. And as I mentioned, there's a bunch of teams. We actually just concluded our most recent game jam last weekend. I think we had some 30 odd submissions just in 72 hours. In addition to leading the development of Dojo, Cartridge also produces a number of tools that make it easier to deploy instances of Dojo. So we have a CLI called Slot. And then Cartridge also develops a couple more proprietary tools like the controller, which is a gaming focused web wallet. It has social login, session keys, fiat, credit card, or cross chain bridging for onboarding, can be deployed either on the web or as a headless wallet solution. And really the goal with controller is to make it easy for players to play and to kind of eliminate a lot of the kind of like scary Web3 stuff that's often associated with onboarding into the crypto world. Cartridge also has a paymaster, which makes it really easy to sponsor gas so that players don't have to bridge in order to start playing. And we also have the arcade, which is kind of a discovery platform for Dojo games. So I think at the kind of core philosophy of Cartridge is make it easy to build these games and also just make it easy and seamless for players to play them.
That's awesome. Gabe, thank you so much. And how can people learn more, get in touch with the Cartridge team, with Dojo?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find Cartridge on X. It's just cartridge_GG or cartridge.gg is the website. The Dojo engine is just dojoengine.org. And I'm Gabe_Ash, Ash like the archer in League of Legends. on X, so you can find us there.
Thank you so much, Gabe, for joining us, and we'll put those details in the description. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Next up, I want us to meet Nico from Carvana Studio, who had recently launched Jokers of Neon for early testing. Hello, Nico. Nice to have you here. Could you walk us through the game?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Nico. So, Jokers of Neon is a strategy card game that's designed to be a mobile-first experience, but it can also be played on desktop. And that's the version I'll show you today. So I'll show you a short video about the game and explain how it works. So Jokers of Neon is a strategy card game that's designed to be a mobile-first experience. You start with a poker deck and you need to score points by forming poker hands. And as you progress through levels, you go to different stores where you can buy special cards, upgrades, and loot boxes to make your play stronger. And at the end of each level, you face what we call race rounds, that are harder rounds where you need to overcome challenges.
Thank you so much, Nico. This is really, really awesome. Tell us a little bit what comes next for Jokers of Neon.
Sure. So the season 1 is what comes next. We're working on season 1 of the game that will launch in the upcoming weeks. With season 1, we are introducing 2 very important features that will keep players engaged to the game. So season progression and card collection. So players will be able to advance through the season by advancing through levels or completing daily missions. And as long as the players advance in the season, they will unlock pack of cards. That connects to the second feature, that is the card collection. So season 1 will be launched with 14 exclusive special cards that will be locked at start, but players will be able to collect them while playing the game. When they collect the card, it's unlocked in game. So yeah, we think with these 2 features combined, we'll have another layer of depth in the game. And we envision players coming back to the game one day after the other to try and collect all the cards before the season ends.
Awesome. I have to say that the game is super fun to play, works great on mobile. So I really recommend everyone to try it out. And I wanted to ask how people can get involved with your community.
Cool. So we have a Discord server where players hang out, discuss different strategies, report backs and stuff. It's also our _1 announcement channel. And we also have other social media. We have Twitter. We also post the announcement there. It's at Jokers_of_Neon. We have a TikTok account and an Instagram account. You can find everything in our webpage. That's jokersofneon.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nico, and we'll share all those links in the description. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, Alan, for having me. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Next up, I want us to meet Daniel from Evolute, who are launching Mage Duel for early beta. Hello, Daniel. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Thank you. And can you walk us through Mage Duel? Would love to see the game, how it works.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I prepared a short demo for you. Actually, the game is in closed testing phase. We are testing our beta right now, but it's already available through test flight, so I can share the link with people who want to be a part of the testing team. So yeah, the game is called Mage Duel, and this is our first title. It's a tile placement game, the PvP game, so you can play with your friends. And here I can walk you through quickly the tutorial that explains the core mechanics of the game. So I think if you ever played the board game Carcassonne, that rule might seem familiar for you. So yeah, we adapted the rules and make it for dual mode. It will make this game more competitive and more interesting to play in one-on-one mode. But the idea is basically you have the square tile and you have the board, and your goal is to capture as much structures on the board as possible. So here the tutorial teaching you how you can close the structures. So for example, I have the road, and if I close the road with my tile, and the player who earns more points of the road can control the whole piece. So right now I'm controlling the road, and this is the interesting mechanic that we added. It's called the Joker tile. So basically each of the player has 3 Joker tiles per match. And so you can use them wisely. So the idea is that you can actually craft any tile. So that's a very strategic movement. So right now I'm crafting the tile so I can close exactly the city, and now I own in this city. Yeah, so after this like quick explanation steps, the real fight is starting. So right now I'm playing with a bot, but again, I think the gameplay is very interesting even when you're playing vs computer. And yeah, so this is how the core loop looks like. Yeah, I think we can skip the tutorial right now, and I will show you a bit about the meta game. So right now, preparing this game for launching the tournaments. So each of the tournaments will be dedicated to some specific event. So the next event we call Corrupted Crystal, and we make the whole new board with the new styles for these tournaments. So the players who plays the tournaments can win special prizes in the loot boxes and also fight for the pool prize. And yeah, we also prepared a lot of different customizations, so players can unlock the characters, and there will be also a bunch of customizations for the tiles. Again, you can play the ranked games. Again, right now I just invite you to join our waiting list. So we plan to launch the tournaments in Q4 of this year, so please stay tuned. And while you're waiting, you can play with a friend or play with other players and enjoy the core mechanics. Yeah, and also it will be very helpful if you can join our Discord channel. We will add the link in the description, so I can add you to the close testers. So yeah, this is how the Mage Duel looks like right now.
Awesome. This is really beautiful gameplay over there. And I wanted to ask you what's is coming next for Mage Duel and Evolute. I know you're already cooking your next titles. Would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, sure. So again, right now we built this core loop and we preparing to launch the tournaments. So again, our idea is to build real money games. So imagine when the student playing the game in the morning, win a couple of the rounds, and then he can buy coffee in the afternoon for the assets that he owned in the game. So that's the ideal picture that we are reaching. And so this is the short like diagram of how the tournaments will work and how our seasons will work. So again, the next season will be dedicated to the Corrupted Crystal. So people who will play the tournaments can unlock these beautiful bundle assets. But that's not the most important thing. The most important is actually the prize pool. So we are envisioning these tournaments as entry fee tournaments. So people will buy the crystal with the energy, and they will get the access to the matchmaking, and each game they play, they spend the crystal that go to the shared prize pool, and in the end of the season, we will distribute this prize pool within the winners. So, and this is the way how people can play and earn. And yeah, but we are, as a studio, we are planning to have multiple games, and we have the plans to build multiple games in the row. So this is our roadmap for the next few years. So after we launch in the Mage Duel, we're gonna work on the miner. So miner, it's another concept. I can show you a couple of the footages here. So this is the battle royale game. Imagine like you're landing on the big map with other players, and you are completing the quests, farming the resources, defeating the bosses within the 20 minutes of the session with the level progression. So, and our idea is to build all our games in the same lore, in the same pixel art aesthetics, that will have the same vibe, but that will be totally different clients. So yeah. If shortly after this launch, we plan to support the Mage Duel, running the different seasons, adding more content, running the tournaments, while we're working on our next titles. So the miner is coming next, and after that we're gonna work on the more single player style games, so which will be like more in their dungeon crawler genre.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This is really awesome. And we'll leave in the description the links to join the Evolute community, where you can download the games, give feedback. So please, I encourage everyone to check out the games by Evolute. They are really, really great. And thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye-bye.
Alan, and thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
So to wrap things up, in this video, we learned about some available infrastructure to integrate games and blockchain and met with two great founders who shared some insights on the games they are building. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and share the video. Also, let us know which game you are building in the comments below. Thanks for watching.